Hello Exiles and welcome. Today we are on our next episode of my League Content Guide series, and today we're going to be discussing Incursion League. Now, as usual, the video that you can see in the background here is for the reveal trailer that was released. Now, it was quite a fun league, and this was probably the first league that I could actually start to fully understand everything in regards to Path of Exile, and I'm going to go through basically how Incursion works and what it's all about. But I just wanted to just kind of let you enjoy the trailer for a little bit, just because to me this was the first trailer for Path of Exile that I ever watched. So as you can imagine, it has a bit of nostalgia for me, because when I joined in Beastery League, it was around about halfway through, so I didn't really get to experience the league launch as everybody does. Now with my league launch, I don't know why, but I decided to be a masochistic person, and I decided to farm a Onigoroshi sword, which for everybody that knows this sword, the only way to obtain this sword is by running Twilight Strand and killing Hillock over and over and over and over until he decides to turn into an Uber version of a Hillock, and he then has a guaranteed drop of the sword, which is always 6-linked, and it is a decent sword to start with. And I think for my build that I did a nice Cyclone build. Back when Cyclone was decent, I did a good Cyclone damage. It was an absolute blast to fly through the axe with Onigoroshi. The only thing that was quite funny for me is that when I actually had the sword drop, it then came up on my screen, someone has now defeated the Uber Elder on my screen. So as you can imagine, I'd been in there for quite some time. Now in terms of Incursion, there wasn't really much released in terms of the league, in terms of like extra content, other than the fact that the league was introduced. Now, for anyone who doesn't obviously know anything about me or my channel, go check out my channel. I will be doing a ton of more videos for the next month and a half until the new league launches. I'm going to be playing Last Epoch next week when 1.0 is released. For anyone who doesn't know what that game is, there is a video of it on my channel where I give you first impressions from a Path of Exile player's point of perspective. So what we'll do now is I will jump into this and let's go through what is Incursion. So you're probably thinking, what is Incursion? So Incursion is when you will bump into a lady in your maps, or you can put her into your maps, and she is called Alva Velai. What she will then do is she will then send you back in time to a temple of Atzoatl, which is a Vaal temple. This is the temple that you can see there on for a brief second there. I will go through it in a little bit more detail in a minute. But basically you are transported back in time to try and do simple objectives like open doors and kill architects. Now the architects can either upgrade the room that you are in, or they can rotate the room and change it into something different. As you can imagine, in upgrading the room you will get better rewards, and in rotating the room you can change it to a better room than the one that you may already have. Whilst in there, you are on a limited time scale, so you usually have only around about 15 to 20 seconds, and the only way for you to extend this time period is by killing monsters or killing architects in the actual event. The sacrificing the Vaal blood, i.e. the blood of the monsters, will then usually give you more time. So the more monsters you kill, the more time you will then generate for your time in the past. However, as you can imagine, all things must come to an end. Once you have actually completed everything and you have then gone back into the past and you've done what you need to do, you will then be teleported back into the future, where all the items will then rain down upon you from the monsters that you have then killed. Now in every single map that you do, you will come across 3 of these incursions. You have to do a total of 12. After 12 incursions, all of the rooms that you have then entered and connected are then all combined into one large dungeon that is then called the Temple of Atzoatl, that you can then complete, and you can then objectifiably get all of the loot that you have then built. So it's kind of build your own pyramid type game. You can make it as juicy or as hard as you want, but obviously you don't want to make it too hard because obviously you might not be able to complete it. Now, in previous leagues, and until I would say in the last year or so, when you encountered Alva within your map, you then had to complete the temple whilst in your map, and she would then open 6 portals for you. However, GGG saw that as a bit of a hindrance, and they have now included a system where Alva will now give you the temple as an itemized product. Now you have 2 options. You can either then run this, or you can sell it to other people on the trade site. It's entirely up to you how you want to do it. Some of the methods in creating the pyramids can be quite profitable, which we will discuss in a minute. So some people do just run the pyramids just to get it for profit. They will upgrade certain rooms, and then they will sell the actual pyramid as like a map. It is basically like a map that you can then put into your map device, and it will then open 6 portals for you. So we're going to run through it in a little bit more detail. I do have a bit of a cheat sheet for you here, and we're going to run through, obviously, I'm going to run through a little bit of a pyramid with you, just so that you kind of understand how it works, and obviously what you have to do, and what you have to do in terms of the architects, and how they work. So, before we crack on, I just want to quickly say, if you missed my last video where we went through the fastest mapping build in the game, then you can go and check that out. It was posted yesterday. I will post a link to it in the video now. If you want to go and check it out, it was a super fast build, and it was very fun to play. But before that, let's crack on into this video. Now, as always with the format of these videos, the next thing that we usually then discuss is, how do I get Alva into my maps? Now, unfortunately, there is no scarabs. You can't get Alva into your map via a scarab. She is a master, kind of like Einhar was in Bestiary. However, with Bestiary you have scarabs, so you can force him in. However, with Alva you cannot. She is obviously a master on the map device, so you can literally just click this on or off, and obviously this will then put her into your map. There is also a sextant that you can get that does say that your maps will contain Alva. Now, I'm not going to show you what it looks like, just because I don't really think that's the best. I don't think that's the best use of a sextant. If you're gonna put her into your maps, then I would recommend that you use this button on the map device and just add her in. Now, obviously you can also influence her via other means by using obviously the Atlas tree. So as you can see here, there is obviously little nodes here that will obviously give you increased quantity of items dropped. So once obviously you do the event, obviously all the monsters will then drop their own items on the floor. This will obviously increase the quantity of it. The next one up here obviously includes incursions, obviously contain a vile flesh merchant, which obviously is a little bit of a harder boss for you, but obviously he is in there. All of these will then provide you with 1% chance to grant an Alva completion, and obviously these last 2 here give you an extra 10% chance for increased quantity. And then the last one here, your maps with incursions always have 4 incursions. So what that means is that, so previously when I said that you would have to do 3, if you select this, then you would do 4. So that means that you would only need to do 3 maps, and you would then be able to do the temple. So that obviously increases the rate in which you can actually start to do pyramids. The next one that you then have is this one. So this obviously has increased pack size, and then this one is killing resident architects adds their upgrade tier to the surviving architect's room. So basically resident architects are those that can be killed to change the incursion room. So basically when you kill a you have an option between either upgrading the room or switching the room, which is like a resident architect. So basically what this is saying is, if you kill the resident in your maps, it adds their upgrade tier to the surviving room as well. So that's obviously a bit of a bonus there. Bottom one here is killing non-resident architects in your map have a 40% chance to add an upgrade tier to the surviving architect's room. So that's obviously entirely up to you whether you want to run that or not. And then the last one I believe is up here. Let me just double check. I think that's the last one. Yes, it is. Hold on. Yes, it is, yeah. So this last one up here is obviously increased chance to grant an Alva mission, and then the last one here, incursions in your maps have a 33% chance for all of the monsters to at least be magic, and time gained is doubled for incursions. So that means that you then have massive amounts of time to be able to then complete your incursion in your maps. Now, we're going to run through incursions and what they are in a little bit more detail in terms of how it works. So once you discover Alva within your maps, she will then bring up a map of the temple, which will be in front of you, which I will show you in a second. Basically, on that map, you will then have the option, this is a copy of the map, you then have an option to then basically decide what you want to do. So you will always start at the bottom here, the bottom room at the entrance, and obviously the beams that are obviously connecting the rooms are the doors and passageways. Now that means that they are connected. So as you can see, this entrance room here is connected two ways. It's connected up to the tombs and it's connected up to the chasms, but it's not connected to the hatchery. But the chasm is by going backwards, bottom right. Now each room, other than the entrance, would typically have 4 ways in and out of the room. They're usually 2 at the top, 1 in the top left, 1 in the top right, 2 at the bottom, 1 in the bottom left, 1 in the bottom right. Unless they are the rooms that are on the edges, then the ones on the far right are not there. So for example, if I take this surveyor's study, which is highlighted here, there will be a room in the top left and the bottom left to connect to the pits and the tunnels, but the top right and bottom right there won't be, because there's nothing there. There's nothing for them to connect to. Okay, now this is obviously an example. So as you can see, it tells you at the bottom there how many incursions you have left. So this one obviously says that we have 7 incursions remaining. At the top here, this apex of Atzoatl, that is the boss. So if you wanted to connect to that boss, then you would need to make sure that every single room that is lit up is connected to the boss. The rooms only light up if they are connected to the main path. So as you can see here, these 2 are connected, but they're not connected to any other rooms. So the rooms are still kind of a dark shade of black. These ones that are lit up, you can actually see what's in the imagery and they're nicely lit up for you. That is a bit of a one glance type of look. You can see what rooms are unlocked and what rooms are not unlocked. Second thing that it does provide you, because there's a lot of information on this screen, second information is it then does give you a bit of a diagram of the room. Now obviously the room here, it tells you basically the 2 symbols in the middle. So the one that looks like a yellow arrow is an architect, and the one on the left here, which is like a red and a green arrow facing in opposite directions, is another architect. You basically have the decision of which you need to kill one of them. You don't necessarily need to kill them if you don't want to, if they don't provide you with anything that's of worthwhile, but you may as well kill them just because it may provide you with a benefit. Now the one that looks like an arrow, the gold arrow, so this one, the one that's pointing up, will always upgrade the level of that room. So if it's tier 1, it will obviously then go to tier 2. If it's tier 2, it will go to tier 3. If it's tier 3, it won't go any higher. You can't get it any higher than tier 3. So there shouldn't be an upgrade option for you there. Now the other one will basically rotate the room and change it for something else. So you could then change it into something more valuable. So if you had an option for, let's say, I don't know, like the Locus of Corruption. So if you managed to upgrade that room to tier 3, and then that said rotate this room to the Locus of Corruption, that would be perfect. So you get to pick which one. Now bearing in mind, whichever one you kill, the other one will then disappear. The architect will then disappear because they will survive. Okay. The next thing that it shows you in here is these 3 red circles. The 3 red circles are the doors to this area. So as you can see here, he has selected the surveyor study. So as I was saying earlier, there is no door in the top right and there is no door in the bottom right corners. It's only in the middle, which is connected to the would you connect you to the tombs, top left, which would connect you to the pits, and the bottom right, which will connect you, bottom left, which will connect you to the tunnels. Now the reason why they're red is because none of them are unlocked, none of them are opened. As soon as you unlock these red circles will then turn green. So the way that I like to do it is when I'm doing incursion, I will always try and remember left or right. So I'll always just kind of, or the way that I see it is top or bottom. So obviously there's an architect at the top and there's an architect at the bottom. Because of the way the room's shaped, I kind of think of it as top, bottom. So I always think top if I want to go top, or bottom if I want to go bottom, and I'll usually do that first, and then I'll usually then remember the direction of the doors. If I want to go top, let's say we want to go for this top left one here, then I will think, so if I want to go top and top left, then I will usually go straight up here, and I will kill as many monsters as I can as I go, and then I'll head down towards the bottom, the top left here, and then I'll try and kill monsters. Now by that point I should have at least 15-20 seconds, so you can then kind of digress a bit and go down here and kill all of these monsters. Now there is a monster bar that obviously appears on your screen, which obviously then tells you how many monsters you have killed within the area, which I'll when they do it, there we are. So as you can see down at the bottom here, it says monsters killed. It does actually show you how many you have killed, so you can kind of see how you are in progressing through the actual incursion. So if you've killed everything, then obviously it's a case of there should have been a key somewhere, so you may have just not heard it. As you can imagine, as it just showed back then, let's just rewind that a second. Once you've killed everything, all of the loot will then basically just drop on the ground as soon as you come out of the actual incursion. Now if you have a good loot filter on, probably 99% of this you will not be able to see. You probably will just see maybe the orb of transmutation and a portal scroll. I don't know, depends on the level of your strictness. But obviously based on this, it's a case of that you can then decide how you want to do it. So you can basically make your own temple. Now once you've obviously got the actual temple, as you can see here, this is them then opening the actual temple. Now at the bottom right, I would like to show you right here, it does say temple map. You can bring this up at any point so that you don't get lost navigating through the temple, because it is a very, very big zone. It is probably one of the biggest zones if you have all of the rooms unlocked that you then have to try and navigate around, and ideally you want to have kind of a bit of a fast build so that you can run around it with some speed, otherwise you're going to be in there for quite some time. So obviously you can then navigate around the actual temple and open up all of the chests. Now if you opened up, let's say the gem cutter one, obviously you get a series of gems. There are architects that are actually in there as well, and obviously they will obviously try to kill you. There are also a bunch of chests that could provide you with maps, and I think there's one for unique items as well. So that is basically it in terms of the actual mechanic. It's just a case of go in there, kill as many monsters as you can, pick up the stone passage key that will drop from a monster, open the doors, and then once you've got the stone passage key, you can then open the actual key to get out. And as you can see here, June 1st 2018, that does make me feel old because I remember that. I remember when that came out and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I just wanted to just show you one last thing, which is basically whilst you're in the actual incursion, there is a clock at the top of the screen here. There is a timer, so just kind of keep an eye on that timer, because if you start running low on time and you've still not found a key, and you've still got, let's say, 50% of the monsters left, then you need to get a move on and you need to run around and kill as many monsters as possible so you can try and get the key. Now at some point, depending on how you're playing Incursion, you may be able to complete the entire temple and have opened all of the doors so that when you go in there, none of the monsters will drop a key. That is fine. It's a case that you just need to focus then on the architects. So it's a case of go in, kill the architect. If you want to kill monsters to get more loot when you leave, again, that's entirely your option. However, I believe that the map modifiers that you apply to your map can also apply to the monsters in the incursion, so just bear that in mind just for difficulty. So I've also going to provide you with this handy little cheat sheet for you. Now if I just move my head, if you can see here, see it says S tier, A tier and B tier. So S tier is the red ones, orange is A tier and yellow is B tier. So as you can see up there at the moment, there is at the top here, there is obviously the three top of the red ones, which is the Gem Cutter's Workshop, which obviously upgrades to the Doriani's Institute, which provides you with a corruption device, so you can then corrupt your gems. You have the Corruption Chamber, which obviously upgrades to the Locus of Corruption, which is where you can then do double corrupts, and you can obviously corrupt an item. And then you have the Sacrificial Chamber, which then turns into the Apex of Ascension, which then converts a unique item. So you put any unique in there, and it will then change it into a unique item that's of the same base. So if you was to put a leather belt in there, that's obviously a unique belt, it will then change it into another random unique belt. There is obviously a few tiers lower to that where it will just change it into any random unique, but it's a bit of a waste of time. The best two that I would say on here are probably the Doriani's Institute and the Locus of Corruption, which are the two that start with Gem Cutter's Workshop and the Corruption Chamber. The Vault is S tier because that is basically just full of currency. There is between 2 to 5 sets of currency chests in there, so there's just tons and tons of currency. All the other ones that are in here usually either just provide you with extra drops, extra map drops, increase strong boxes. There's one there that obviously upgrades rooms for you. That obviously, but it also then provides empowerment to the boss. Obviously, you then have a boss at the top, and obviously you have to do a bit of empowerment to that boss. Now, there are two different methods in running these pyramids. You've either got two methods. One, you either open all of the doors to get to the boss, juice the boss as much as possible, and then kill the boss, and he may then drop something good. That is probably what about 1% of players do, or the other 99% of players probably do what I'm going to say now, which is 2. That is literally, they don't care about the boss, they don't care about any other rooms, all they care about is the Doriani's Institute and the Locus of Corruption rooms, and that's it. They don't care about anything else, because most people will literally just buy these, run to that room, use it, then leave. They don't do any of the other pyramid. So this, in some ways and not, it's a little bit sad that some people will take their time to make all of these rooms and just to try and get it connected to this one room, and then someone will literally buy it, run through the map just to that room. They will screw all the other rewards just to get to the altar. Then they'll use the altar, and then at that point they'll just leave, and they'll just lose all the other rewards just because they don't care about it. So, but they're the two methods on how you can do it, and probably the last one is the most profitable, because the Locus of Corruption room I think sells for around about 2 divs. Let's go and check. As I expected, it's around about 2 divines. As you can see, the price there is 1.8, 1.9, 2 divines, and these are for temples, Chronicles of Atzoatl. So this is the itemized version of the temple that you will then get once you have done all 12 of your incursions. You're going to speak to Alva. She will then give you this, and it then lists all of the rooms that you have then done. And as you can see on this one, this has the Locus of Corruption tier 3 on the actual temple. So I could literally buy that, run in, go and do the Locus, get out. Don't care about any of the other rooms if I wanted to double corrupt something. So this is why most people will usually try and do this. Now, if you can get the Locus of Corruption and the other room as well, which the names just popped out of my head, Doriani's Institute, I think it is, then you can double this, I think. Let me just go and check how much that would be in terms of how much that would be if you had both. It's not as bad as I thought. I thought it'd be a lot more than that. It's actually 2.5 divine, which is not that bad. So 2.5 divine for both rooms is decent. But if you think about it, this is a mechanic that you can do whilst you're just doing your regular everyday maps. You can run in. It's what I like to call passive income, because you can run into your map, complete the whole map, and then if you want to then go back or do the alvas whilst you're going through, and then you can then obviously go through the alva, go back in time, do these, and then once you've done them, you then obviously get all the loot when you get back out again, and obviously then you can then just leave and do that. And all it would take is 3 maps if you spec'd into it, and you then passively, if you manage to get the Locus of Corruption, you've easily made yourself a simple 2 divines on the side, and you've not need to do anything else apart from kill a few monsters. So It's entirely obviously what you want to do in what you feel is easier, but that is pretty easy in terms of obviously making money. Now, as always, there is actually a memory that you can do. The memory is on screen here. It's called it's Alva's, one of Alva's, as you can imagine, and it's called of reverse incursion. Now, what it does is obviously the area basically comes one massive incursion, and obviously the temporal incursion portals, it says, have had their directions reversed. So basically what happens in these maps is, look, area contains 6 temporal incursions. Incursion portals have their directions reversed. Incursion architects have a chance to drop an additional rare incursion item, so you don't even need to go into the temple. This is the main thing that people usually do it for, which is the 100% increased experience gain, which is pretty big. Incursion monsters have got up to 400% more life, and monsters deal up to 40% more damage. Now, one of the reasons that people like to do this is mainly for the XP. There is someone that I know that likes to literally run this just to get the increased XP gain, just so that it kind of levels him up a little bit faster. So if you like doing Alva and you like doing incursions, that is a method that you can do to try and make to try and get a little bit more XP whilst leveling. And that is basically it, guys. Sorry, apologies for the length of the video, but due to the fact that it's quite a simple mechanic. You basically go in, kill monsters, get keys, get out. But because of how it's one of them weird mechanics that is so simple, but yet can be very complex in terms of the rooms or the upgrading. What do you want to do? Do you want to upgrade? Do you want to rotate the room? You know, all the different tiers of the rooms, they all change into something different. It's a weird one. So apologies for the length. Obviously it is kind of ran over. I wasn't expecting obviously this one to be this long, but I've tried to go through it as quickly as possible. What I'd like to obviously say as well, if you want to check out any of my other videos that are on my channel, we've gone through every other piece of League content, and for the last, I think it's for the last 6 videos now, we've already come across, we've already gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the 9th one, and we've still got about another 9 or 10 to go as well. 9, 10, 11, 12. We've got about 12 more to go. So we're nearly halfway. There's that many mechanics in the game. So yeah, go check out my channel. If you like this content, throw us a subscribe, throw us a like, and until the next video, guys, stay sane.